They're literally about 30 days away right now from obviously the most exciting convention that we've ever had in Riman history. A lot of you obviously were in Puerto Rico. Dang it, if I say Puerto Rico one more time, somebody's got to get after me like a like, what am I doing? Right? I said Puerto Rico. Everybody's like, we were in Puerto Rico? I could have sworn, Tim, it was Costa Rica. But sorry about that again. But in Costa Rica, we had some exciting announcements about some new products, things that are happening in the future. So the excitement level right now about with obviously what's happening in the world of Remon with the new exciting new announcements from the products, it's just got everybody just so excited about this convention, right? So many exciting things are happening at this convention. And I know that people are going to walk out of this thing on fire. I mean, they're going to walk out of here and everybody's going to have just a renewed commitment. There's going to be so many brand new people that are going to be obviously exposed to the big picture, right, of the Remon opportunity. They're going to see the big picture of what's happening with Remon and the Remon world. We all know what happens, right? When brand new people come out of the convention, they have that commitment to say, hey, I'm going to become a team leader. I'm going to become a director. I'm going to make it happen. So everybody's so fired up, obviously, about the convention. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But I think the biggest thing that happened for me, anyways, this weekend was seeing Karen hit national director, right? When I got that announcement, man, I was on fire, right? I mean, I know so many of you have seen her commitment. Everybody, I think, has seen her commitment and her dedication, to the Remont opportunity. And I remember when I first met her for the first time, I was like, man, you know what? This girl's on fire, right? And she's never lost that passion, always had that same fire and helping so many people win and so many people succeed. So that's such a major accomplishment for all of us in Remon. Everybody I know, everybody in DBK is just absolutely besides himself, but so is the whole entire Remon community, man. We are so proud of her, so proud of her commitment. And everybody right now that gets a chance to spend time with her, and all of us, I mean, whether it be on a Zoom call, right, that she's doing an orientation training or an opportunity, every time we get a chance to hear Erin speak, she touches our heart with her excitement and her enthusiasm and just her ability to be able to lead. So first thing is obviously that was such a big announcement. I was texting her right when I saw it, man. I had like tears coming out. I was like starting to get teared up. I had the goosebumps. I'm like, man, Karen, I'm so dang proud of you, sister. Like, I just love it so much to see people win. I think that to me is like in this industry of direct selling, I think that's probably the biggest, most exciting thing that happens in our world, right? When you see people that have challenges or go through, I think Karen's challenge is a lot different than ours, right? She's up at such a high level, but no matter what, right? We're always trying to accomplish things and overcoming these things. And sometimes they're little hurdles, right? Might be team leader for some of us, right? Some of us, it might have been team leader that was like a challenger. Some of you might be director, right? Some of us, it might have been senior manager. But once you overcome any challenge or any goal that you have, you accomplish it. It's just so inspiring to everybody because people see, you winning and it inspires everybody. My mentor told me a long time, right? Whenever you see your neighbor getting blessed, be excited because that means that God's in the neighborhood, right? So just an exciting thing that happened this weekend to see that. And I know everybody's inspired by that. Can't wait to obviously hear her national director speech. I mean, it's going to be such an inspiration for everybody, and it's going to get everybody just saying, okay, you know what, let's do it, right? There's going to be some people that are sitting there that might be brand new, right? It might be their first convention, but when they see her, walk up there on stage and share that story, there can be those decisions that people make to say, hey, you know what, why not me, right? Why not me? Why don't I just do the same thing, right? And that's what's so exciting about these types of experiences is that you really do touch people with your testimonial. And that's why I'm so excited because we've got so many, director promotions. We've got so many people that have just hit team leader. There's just so many exciting things that are happening, right now in the world of Remon. So I want to congratulate everybody, number one for being here this morning, but number two, want to tell everybody that, everybody is so thankful. I know all of us, I can speak for all of us. We're all so excited and thankful for Karen's leadership and her ability to reach that position and inspire us all. So it's going to be a great convention. So let's talk a little bit more about the convention, right? We've got the convention coming up. One thing that I think a lot of times, that mainly for people that might be newer, right? Some of you might be newer team leaders, maybe been in for a short time, maybe been in for 6 months or 4 or 5 months. And, when you get closer to the convention, sometimes you might think like, basically like, most people, it's like, oh, it's only 30 days away. It's not enough time to promote. But in the world of network marketing, what I can share with you is those last people that go, right? Those people that join a week before or 2 weeks before, and we get them committed to the convention. Those are the people I think more than anybody else, because when I get started, you guys, everybody knows, right? Mainly if I haven't done a lot of pop-ups yet or I haven't exposed Riman to many people, I've got that fresh list, right? I've got that fresh list, and I haven't really talked to everybody yet. I haven't reached out to everybody because I'm brand new. And then I go to the convention, right? I get started. I get started. I go to the convention, and what happens is your mind just gets blown away with the magnitude and the size of what's happening in Riman, right? When you walk into a convention and you're brand new, you got to realize that's, to me, is it. Those people are the ones to me that are like, wait a second, these people are going to come out of here absolutely on fire, right? Because they're brand new, they've got a brand new freshwater market, they're seeing it, and their excitement and their belief system is through the roof. Then when they start reaching out to people, sharing the Riman opportunity, they've got a different conviction than if they would have joined 4 or 5 months before, and they would have been reaching out to those people, right? If I joined 4 or 5 months ago and I start reaching out to people, sure, I'm going to have success. We all know it. But when I come out of that convention, if I'm brand new and I'm reaching out to people, that conviction, right? That confidence is at such a big, such an all-time high that you're going to get better results out of it, right? So I think a lot of times we underestimate, as leaders, mainly the newer that we are, we underestimate the power of getting brand new people there, right? Sometimes like, oh, I don't want to, sometimes I think when we're new, I felt like this anyways when I was new, that my job was to save people money, right? Not to make people money. Right. I was like, wait a second. Nowadays I know, hey, I'm not here to save anybody money. I'm here to make people money. Right. But when we're brand new, sometimes we're like, oh, well, the ticket's, a couple $100 more. Right. Or whatever it might be, or the ticket prices went up from 129 or whatever to 169. It's a little bit more expensive. But you got to realize that the results that they're going to get as a brand new person getting into that convention is so much more powerful. Right. So I think a lot of times, though, is, over the next 30 days, we know what's going to happen, right? We're going to sign up thousands of people. Let's face it, right? We know that for sure, right? We know we're going to sign up thousands of people as, here in North America. We're going to sign so many brand new people up, right? So all those brand new people that are getting started, how many of them are we going to get to the convention? How many, and maybe you might sign up 5 new people this month. You might sign up 10 new people. I don't know what your organization looks like, right? But you're going to have new people enroll in your organization. And it's really, people say, how do you get people there? Is it about learning how to overcome objections? It's not, it's just leadership, right? It's when you're 100%, and I believe 100% in conventions. I believe 100% that no matter what, there's nobody that shouldn't go to the convention. There's nobody that's got a really good reason. In my opinion, obviously somebody might be getting married, right? If you're, if somebody's walking down the, aisle and their wedding is scheduled on August 6th, 7th, and 8th, right? That's a pretty good reason, right? Or there's always obviously reasons, but us as leaders, right? We've got to be non-negotiable, right? As leaders, we've got to be non-debatable. So when I talk to people, it's like, look, you know what? There's nothing that you can tell me if you're going to be in Riman, right? And they obviously are because they enrolled. If you're going to be in Riman, then there's no excuse that you can give me that's going to make me go, wow, you know what? You're right. Maybe you shouldn't go, right? Because I care too much about people, and I think, as leaders, all right, that's what we have to look at ourselves as people that say, hey, I'm not going to tell you necessarily always what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, right? And sometimes we have to have those conversations with people and stay in there a little bit longer, right? When somebody's like, well, it's going to be hard for me to go, and they're going to give us some type of an excuse. What do we got to do? What do we have to do as leaders, right? We have to stay in there a little bit longer and push a little bit more. And the reason why, for me, it's like I've had the experience so many times where people have became successful, right, in this profession that I've worked with, and they turned back and said, Tim, if you weren't strong with me at the beginning and didn't make me go to the convention, even though, I'm not forcing anybody to go, right? I'm just influencing them. But if you didn't influence me to go to that convention, I don't know if I would have made the decision for me to become successful, right? I always point to it, right? If I didn't go to that first convention, what would have happened to me? And it's scary to think about, right? So we have, I believe as leaders, we've got to be non-negotiable, right? We got to be non-debatable. We got to get organized. We got to be having a list of people that we want to have going. And then we've got to say, okay, here's the people that are on the fence, right? Who's on the fence right now that hasn't made that 100% commitment? who's on the fence right now that hasn't made that 100%, conviction or heart saying, I'm going no matter what, right? We got to get everybody to that point in our organization and not just being there and really just being, okay, I'm there at the convention. It's kind of like, I always give the example of reading a book, right? When you read a book, you're not trying to get through a book, right? Because there's no book it coupons. You guys, I don't know if you remember the book it coupons. We get free personal pizzas if we read a book. Some of you probably aren't old enough to remember that, but we used to get like, if we read a book when I was a kid growing up, I get a little bucket, little coupon for a free personal pizza at Pizza Hut. That's from getting through a book. In the real life, right? It's not about getting getting through a book. It's about getting from a book. And it's the same thing that goes through the conventions. It's not about going to the convention. It's about getting from the convention, right? It's about getting from the convention and opening up your hearts, right? When you're walking in there, that energy that you feel, right? That excitement that you feel, it just recharges me. I feel recharged every time I go to a convention. And it's like every time I come out of convention, I'm like, man, I needed that, right? I needed that. I needed that feeling, that heart, right? So I think really, going into this convention, it's the perfect timing too, right? It's the time right now where we need it. We got so many exciting things that are happening in the world of Riman, new countries that are opening, right? New things that are happening in Riman. And I think it's like, how do we take advantage of all these exciting things, right? People ask me all the time, I don't know anybody in France or I don't know anybody in Germany. Tim, how do I take advantage of Germany opening or France? It's about raise your belief, raising your confidence. And you're seeing all this expansion happen and this excitement happen. It's like, okay, I just got to raise my belief to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to get the job done. Because we got to elevate our performance, each and every one of us, right? If you're a team leader right now and maybe you're just, maintaining, right? There's a lot of times that we're, when we first get the position, right, that maybe we're just trying to maintain rank or, we're just trying to do, whatever we can or whatever to hit your ranks. But then now, but the reality is that if that becomes your focus, right, if that's my goal, then I'm definitely not going to do 100,000, right? You're not going to have a goal to say, hey, you know what, I want to, I want to run, I want to walk a mile, right? If your goal is to walk a mile, you're definitely not going to break the 4-minute barrier. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to break a 4-minute mile if you're just walking, right? So we have to raise our belief a little bit to say, hey, look, you know what? We got to get to a certain amount of volume, a certain amount of production to hit director, right? All of us have got to be wanting to go director. Okay. I mean, that's literally it. And people ask me, it's like, why is director so important? And it's because basically you're helping more people out. That's the way I look at it, right? If I can take somebody that's a team leader and I can turn them into a director, what happens? More people are being helped, right? More people are winning because of that, right? So the thing that we have to look at is like when we made a decision to become a team leader, people benefited from that, not just us, right? There's people in our organization on our team, right, that saw us go to that next level, that made their confidence go up, right? And injected them with belief that, hey, maybe I could become a team leader too, right? Or we decided that, hey, look, I'm going to go, because if you would have just been a senior manager and you're just, just trying to hit senior manager and you're happy there, certain point you said, hey, I want to be a team leader. And when you decided to become a team leader, your decision to become a team leader made new people do what? Think about it. It made them make a decision to become a senior manager, right? Because you're like, all right, now it's time for me to develop some leaders. And that's the thing that it's to me, it's all about is developing people, developing leaders, developing people and teaching and training and duplicating, right? So people ask me like, how do you develop leaders? And it's not like a formula where it's like just boom, boom, boom. It's many faceted, right? It's many faceted, to develop leaders. There's a lot of different aspects to it. But one of the biggest aspects to it, number one, is your desire, right? Your desire to want to have people learn how to do everything you know how to do. And number two, I think you also have to look at yourself and be humble enough to realize that, look, I can teach other people how to do what I know how to do, right? I think the hardest thing is if, when I work with people that sometimes have, I don't want to say egos, but they kind of think a little bit highly of themselves. And they're like, wait, I'm so special. I'm so great. I don't think anybody could do what I do. You're always going to have trouble. You're going to have troubles, right? You're going to have challenges developing yourself. But if you can look at yourself and you can say to yourself, look, if I can do it, other people can do it, right? If I can do it, anybody can do it. That's the way I look at it, right? When I look at myself, I say, wait a second. Today maybe I have some better skills than I did when I first got started. But at one point I got started as a brand new person, right? I got started in this industry as a brand new person. And here's what I want you to think, right? Some of you don't know my story. Most of you do, but it's like, I was 17 years old when I got started. So what does that mean? Yeah, that means if somebody would, if you had me on your team, if you would be disappointed probably in the person that signed me up, you'd be like, why did you let this little kid in? Right? You know what I mean? Like, why did you let that guy in? He's not going to make it, right? I mean, I would if I signed up in my group right now, I'd be like, dang, what are you doing here, right? This is not easy, right? But when I got started, I just said, hey, if these other people can do it, I can do it, right? But now looking back at it, I know that if I can do it, anybody can do it for sure. Because there's nobody on this call right now that's 17 years old, right, working at a go-kart track like I was. So I learned how to do it. That means I know that I can teach anybody how to do it because I know I'm definitely nothing special, right? And I think that when you come from that place of humility, you're like, I'm not. I can teach other people how to do what I've been able to do, right? Because I'm not that special. I'm just an average person, or however, sometimes, I look at myself, I'm below average, but if I can learn how to do this, anybody can learn how to do it. Anybody can become a success. So I think when you have that humility, and humility to me is not thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking about yourself less, right? It's like, look, if I can do it, anybody can do it, right? Anybody can make it happen, right? It's not like, there's no secret power or superpower that I have. So sometimes you got to look back to when you first got started, because many of you got so much confidence right now that, whoa, right? It's like, wait a second, people sometimes when they see you operate, they're like, well, I don't know if I could ever have that type of conviction. But you got to kind of look back to when you did have doubt, right? When you did have a little bit of fear, right? When you were asking yourself, hey, will this really work for me, right? Will I be able to make it happen? And then you are able to make it happen. Then you can look back at your new people and try to guide them and navigate them from where they are to where they need to be, right? And sometimes maybe they don't want to become a team leader. Maybe they just want to be a senior manager. Maybe they just want to be a manager. But as you keep talking to them, right, and you keep working with them, sometimes that door is going to open, right, where they're going to say, why not me, right? I do want to be a team leader, okay? I do want to be a team leader. And then maybe once some of you right now on the call, you're not even thinking about director yet. Maybe you're thinking about or hoping for, but in your mind, there might be something that's blocking you to say, maybe I can't do that, or maybe it's too tough, or da-da-da-da-da. But once you realize is we're allowed to have as many people as we want help us, right? So if I'm doing 10,000 in volume, or I'm doing 100,000 in volume a month, what's the difference? Think about it. Just more senior managers. If you really honestly break this whole thing down, what's the difference between national director and team leader? What's the difference? It's more senior managers. That's literally it. Like when you really get down to it, what's the difference between a team leader and a senior manager? It's just you have more senior managers. So it's all about replicating. So how many senior managers are we allowed to develop? See what I mean? How many are we allowed to have? How many can we have, right? There's an unlimited, we can do unlimited amounts. So you can't look at a volume goal and say, okay, well, I can do 10,000 or I can do 20,000, but I can't do 100. Or if you're at 100,000, I can't do 300,000. Same thing. Literally it's the same thing. And I know people get upset when I say that sometimes because they're like, you make it sound so easy, but it's just about replicating more people. Think about it. How many people are we allowed to sign up to help us get customers? Right? How many, you know what I mean? When you look at like things like, like these amazing buildings that have been built. Now I'm not talking about the ones nowadays, right? You go to that nowadays, you look at these buildings that are built and you're like, whoa, right? Well, there was a lot of things went into it, right? You got these special architects, you've got, these giant cranes. But think back to like the pyramids of Giza, right? Or think about like the Taj Mahal, or think of like some of these buildings that were built, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. Think about that, right? I mean, think about it. How were those things built? Somebody goes, I would never be able to build the pyramids of Giza or one of those things. Well, one person didn't do it. It's not like one guy was out there building the pyramids by himself. Can you imagine that? Somebody's building the Taj Mahal by themselves. It's not one guy. It wasn't one person, right? There was a lot of people that were recruited that were able to create that beautiful building. So we're creating this beautiful building. And sometimes, right, you might think national director, that's beyond me. But what's the difference between national director, and team leader? It's just the amount of people that you have help you building that building. So we're allowed to recruit as many people as possible. We're allowed to build our business and build our organization as big as possible. So now when you break it down, you go, okay, right, we can do that. If you had double the amount of people right now that are actively building your business, that would think about what would happen. Common sense, right? And I think most of us agree, if we had double the active people right now that are doing what they're doing today, we would double our volume. Right? I mean, just common sense would tell us that, right? I mean, it's hard to debate that, right? It's like if I have what I have today, but I had twice as much, common sense says I do twice as much volume, right? So it's the same thing, right? We can replicate and develop as many people as we want. So how do we do it? We build it one leader at a time. We build it brick by brick. We build it inch by inch. That's the reason why this month's promotion is so exciting, right? When you look at this month's promotion, somebody goes senior manager within 30 days of their start date. Think about how fair that is. Think about how fair that is. Meaning what, right? Meaning, well, if somebody, if it doesn't, like the promotion doesn't say they have to be a senior manager in the month of July. Because if somebody gets started on July 28th, you might not even want to talk about that promotion, right? Because you're like, I don't know, you might make preconceived idea. I don't know if this person could really do it in a few days, right? So you might not even promote it. But if somebody joins on the last day of the month, they still have 30 days to hit senior manager. They're going to make a $300 bonus, and the sponsor is going to make a $200 bonus. Now you got two people pulling on the same end of the rope. We have two people that are doing what, right? That are focused on one person's goal. You see, that's powerful, right? There's nothing more powerful than when another person cares for another person. So now you got two people focusing in on the same person's success. So imagine what's going to happen this month if we, number one, promote the promotion. It's not, people think all the time, I like this promotion, Tim. I like this promotion. When we had this promotion, I really like that one. It's not so much about the promotion as it's about your ability to promote it, right? Because if you have the greatest promotion in the world, but you don't promote it, guess what? It's not going to work. What works is us promoting the promotion. So when you look at this month's promotion, why is it so important? Because what do we want? How many planners do you want on your team? I tell people all the time, if somebody asks me, Tim, would you rather have 1,000 planners or 1,000 customers? Some of you might not believe me whenever I tell you I'd rather have 1,000 customers than 1,000 planners. Somebody goes, then why are you such a big recruiter? Well, somebody asked me, would you rather have 1,000 leaders or 1,000 customers? I'd rather have 1,000 leaders. You guys see the difference? I'm not trying to have planners on my team. I'm trying to develop leaders. If I've got 1,000, would you rather have 1,000 customers or 1,000 team leaders? It's obvious, right? We don't all want to have 1,000 team leaders. So how do we get more team leaders? How do we get more senior managers? Is doing a better job of capturing these people when they get started, right? Making sure that we're connecting with them and laying out a game plan and making sure that our brand new people are what? Having success. And how do we do that? Well, the promotion is going to help us do that if everybody on our team is excited about the promotion. If everybody's like, this is a great promotion, and then we're asking our question, how many people on our team are going to get this promotion? Right? Every month when I talk to my brand new team leaders, I ask them, I say, who are your brand new senior managers you're working on creating this month? Right? Who are your senior managers you're developing this month? Like every team leader, that has to be their number one focus, right? Who are your new people who are the people you're working on this month? What is your goal this month? Who are your people? What are their names? How close are they? What do we got to do to get them there? Those to me are the most important questions, right? Because every month we've got to be working on what? New projects to develop, right? If we're just sitting back, working with the same ones that we have, we're not going to develop more senior managers. It's got to be our focus, right? It's got to be our focus. So how do we develop more senior managers? It has to be our number one focus, right? Because if you're thinking about it, if you get a brand new person started, right? And every month, let's say you're creating, 5 new senior managers every single month. How's your volume as a team leader? Right? And then once you start getting people close as a team leader, what I teach my brand new team leaders is, look, as other people get close to team leader, you've got to be looking at your senior manager open line volume, right? When you go to volume history report, as a team leader, what do you want to have? You want to make sure your senior manager open line volume is good too, right? If your team leader open line volume, let's say, is 100,000 open line team leader production, man, you're fired up. You're like, this is great. But then if you look at your senior manager open line volume, if it's only a few thousand, what's that tell you? Right? That we're not developing, right? We're not cultivating and finding new talent. So we've all, as a team leader, right? As a team leader, your senior manager open line volume's got to be high, right? As a director, what? Your team leader open line volume has to be high, right? Because if not, that means you're not developing and cultivating new people, right? You're not developing your new senior managers. It's the same thing. Senior director, same thing. National director. As a national director, you got to be looking at what? Your senior director open line, right? You got to, who are my next people that are coming up through the ranks? We're always trying to develop new people. Our success is going to be predicated on our ability to be able to develop new talent, right? If you think about like soccer's going on right now, right? And I'm not going to talk about soccer because Danny likes the sport. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to tell you my feelings on the sport, right? I'm not going to let Danny Bay get mad at me. But that's not my sport of choice. I'll put it there, right? But if you're, I'm dragging a lot of people mad right now. All the Latino leaders like, I'm hanging up. I'm not listening to this stuff no more. It's crazy. No, but like any sport, it doesn't matter whether it's soccer, whether it's American football, baseball, any sport. You got to have new talent coming up, right? You got to have new talent coming up because whether you believe it or not, Lionel Messi won't be playing soccer forever, right? He's not, right? He might look like he's going to be playing this stuff forever, but at some point he will have to retire. So if the best people on your team are retiring, right, because they're aging out of that sport, what do you hope you have? You have new talent coming up. You better hope that there's somebody in high school or college, right, that lives in your country that's dominating the sport so they can join that FIFA team or whatever. I don't know anything about soccer, so I'm just talking out of like common sense because that's the way that it works, right? You have to always have new talent coming up through the ranks, right? You got to have new talent coming up. So how do you get that new talent in our business, right? How do we have it, right? And we've got to, number one, be identifying it, and we have to have everybody's major focus in our organization on developing senior managers. If I'm a senior manager, what needs to be my primary focus? Right? Think about it. Finding more people like me, right? If I want to, now you're just out there getting customers. You're like, I don't really want to build a business, Tim, right? I just want to get customers, right? I never want to build a big business. I want to get a lot of customers. That's a different story, right? But if I'm talking about building the Taj Mahal, right? It doesn't matter how good of how good you are at building stuff. You're not building the pyramids of Giza or the Taj Mahal or Red Square or whatever. I don't know what beautiful buildings are, but I know there's a lot of them, right? So just think about the ones that are old school, You go to Athens and stuff, you see all those beautiful buildings and stuff, you're like, dang, dude. So what I'm saying is we have to realize if we want to build a beautiful building, then guess what we've got to do, right? We've got to develop more people. Because what would happen if you double the amount of people that you have in your group right now that are like you? Because I think a lot of times, mainly, and I'm not trying to be like any type of situation, like being like sexist or anything like that, but as women, right? You do most women do a lot more of the heavy lifting of parenting, right, than the husbands do. Not all the time, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying, a lot of the times, right? I know in my house, mainly with my older kids, my wife did a lot more of the parenting, right? So as a parent, sometimes you're like, oh my God, developing a new person is almost like developing a kid, right? You know what I mean? Like we are, you know how it is, right? New person's like complaining about something, just like a new kid. It's like, oh my God, I lost my toy. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh my God. But what happens is they get to a point where they duplicate out, where you don't have to do a lot of that heavy lifting anymore, right? You don't have, right now, some of you, you're a team leader and you don't have any team leaders in your group, or, you don't have any, you got this kind of senior managers. Like, is there ever end of the light of the tunnel? Why would I want more of these, right? These guys are out losing their toys crying about stuff, but they're going to develop, right? They're going to develop out, right? They're going to develop, they're going to get to the same level as you. And then as you grow, they're going to grow as well. So there'll be a point in time where you're not doing a lot of that heavy lifting. They're just inspiring you by their activity, right? So that's what we want to get to. But how do we get to that point? It has to be everybody's primary focus is how many new senior managers we're going to develop. That's the reason why this month's promotion is so powerful. So powerful. Because think about all the great people that we all look up to, right? Let's talk about Karen King. Karen was a senior manager at one point. You understand? Like Karen King was a senior manager, right? Imagine that. I was a senior manager at one point, right? Everybody, Steve was a senior manager at one point. We all were senior managers at one point. So we got to realize that in order for us to develop these great people, we've got to focus in on getting them from getting started to senior manager. Because if you and I both know it, how many people are you think are going to stick around here for 5 years and just be a planner, right? Who do you think 20 years from now is going to be like, man, I joined Riman 20 years ago. And I hit this position of planner when I started, and I'm like, man, I got it made. I'm not going nowhere but here, right? I'm just going to stay planner for 20 years. Nobody's doing that, right? They're growing, they're developing, right? So how fast can we do it? So The other thing I want to just kind of quickly touch on about this is this. Think about think about senior manager, right? In 30 days. Now, it think about this. Just think about it. Logically, senior manager in 30 days and senior manager in 90 days, 90 days in our mind would be easier, right? I mean, that would be logical. It's easier to go senior manager in 90 days than it is to go senior manager in 30 days. And now I will debate it. Let me just throw my side of the story up and see if I can't sway maybe a little bit of your mind on this one. It's easier to build this business fast than it is to build it slow. Okay, this is going to be something that some of you are going to be like, I don't know about this. This seems not definitely easier than 30, Tim. I'm just telling you. You looked at a calendar. You know, that's how it works. But if I'm gonna talk everybody to become a senior manager, it's predetermined, right? Meaning that you're gonna have to talk to a certain amount of people about being customers. You're gonna have to talk to a certain amount of people becoming distributors. We'd all agree with that, right? It's already predetermined. All of us that hit senior manager, we all did a certain amount of activity, right? And we could have done that activity faster, right? It's like if I would have called, like if you join, let's say you joined Riman today, or just think about when you joined Riman. If somebody would have called you a day before, would you have joined? Yeah, right. If somebody would have called you a day after, would you have joined? So you were already going to say what you were going to say before you said it, right? You already were going to say yes, right? Or you were already going to say no to Riman opportunity, 100%. So you said yes to it. Now, if somebody would have called you a day before, you still would have said yes to it. So what I want you to think about is this: it's easier to talk to a lot of people than to talk to one person. Like, I'll give you an example. Think about you're talking to one person about Riman a week. That's actually more difficult than talking to 10 people a week. Yeah, let me explain why. Somebody says, I don't know about that. When you're only talking to one person a week about Riman, guess what? You're excited for 5 minutes. It's hard to get revved up for 5 minutes, but it's easier to get excited and just stay excited and let that momentum carry you. Think about when you seriously prospect. Now, I might be different than you guys, but when I prospect, I just keep on prospecting. I just start hitting everybody up like crazy. It's calling, reaching out. And I let that excitement continue, right? So for me, I'm a believer that this business is easier to build fast than it is to build slow. Because if you become a senior manager in 90 days, okay, it's the same activity as doing in 30 days. But you're condensing the time frame. What happens when you condense the time frame on your activities? Momentum builds, right? When you call one person and you're excited, that second person's a lot easier. Why? Because you just overcame that fear, or you overcame that self-talk, right? About, well, what if they say no or whatever? And then you step out of that and you call somebody, you're like, whoa, I feel better, right? Even if somebody says yes or no, you feel better for asking. So now that you call that one person, now you got momentum. Now you call that second one. That second one's easier. Think about it. The second one's easier because you just called that first one. The first one's the hardest one. Second one's easier. Third one becomes even easier. If you call 3 people one day, but if you call that one person, and then you let that excitement from that die down, and then you call the second person the next week later, that excitement is gone, right? Or that nervousness. Now you got to go through it all again. You got to go through that. Oh my God! And 10,000. You guys remember the 10,000-pound phone? I got to make phone calls. I got to prospect people. Oh, but I got to walk the dog, right? Or I got to do the laundry, or I got to wash the dishes again, and we're doing a bunch of tension relieving activity instead of goal achieving activities, right? You want to make your house clean. All you got to do is join Riman because you're going to clean out your house before you prospect, right? Or your car is going to be washed, your dog's going to be well walked, like everything good's going to happen because as human beings, right, we would rather do something that over here that we're used to doing and get out of our comfort zone, right? But when we get out of our comfort zone, we feel better. So that momentum from that first call is going to affect our second call, which is going to affect our third call. So the third call is going to be easier, but if you split it up over a 3-week period, that becomes harder. That to me is why it's easier to do fast than it is to do slow. So if we know in our heart that we can make somebody a senior manager in 90 days, we can make somebody a senior manager in 30 days because it's literally the same activity. The activity is not going to change. All we're doing is condensing the time frame. So when you condense the time frame, you can let the momentum from your activities inspire the momentum for your next activity. Think about it. You take the right activity and it becomes easier to take that second step. It's the first step, right? It's like what Lao Tzu said, right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with that single step. And when you take that first step, you're nervous. When you take that second step, you're not as nervous. But if you just keep taking that first step every week and only prospecting one person, you're not gonna be as inspired. But because you're gonna let that fear keep creeping in. Now watch this. Now it becomes the goal becomes 30 days because of the bonus, right? Now the goal becomes 30 days this month, right? Somebody signs up, their goal now is what? 30 days. Their goal now is 30 days to hit it. Anytime there's a goal, guess what happens? Whatever the goal is, right? It's going to be a lot more inspiring, right? If the goal, so just realize with this bonus, this promotion, think about this. How excited are your new people about getting it? Think about it. How excited are your new people about getting it? It's only $300. It's not $3 million, right? You get what I'm saying? It's about accomplishing it. That's the major thing. You accomplish the goal and you get a reward. See that? That's what we want to have happen. You set a goal, right? That's 30 days. You accomplish it. You get a reward, right? You get a bonus. And you understand? So it's about getting people excited to do it. It's about getting people in their mind to say, look, I'm going to become a senior manager in 30 days. So how many senior managers do we need to create to develop a new team leader? Because what if all of our senior managers, what should be their primary focus right now this month? What's the big driver, right? We all know the team leader party, right? So the team leader party has got to do what? How much are we talking to the senior managers about team leader party? Imagine that you're a senior manager, and imagine that I called you, and me being you, right? I called you, right? But I'm you, and I'm calling you, and I'm saying, hey, look, no matter what, I've got to get you into the team leader party. I got to make sure no matter what because when you're there and you see everybody there, and you see that, you see the chairman, and you see the CEO Huang, and you see Mr. Danny Bay and Betty Perez, you see all the leaders and all the top producers all there. You're just hanging out in that environment. And you're just hanging out with them all. But you know that you did whatever it takes to make it happen, and you're in there. I got to get that feeling for you. I got to make sure you experience that, right? I got to make sure. So what we're going to do this month is we've got to develop, 3 new senior managers or whatever volume that we've got to do to be able to make sure that they're able to accomplish, guess what, right? Team leader. So if we get all of our senior managers running for team leader, so they can go into the party, the convention, see what's happening. Now back into it. Think about what I'm saying. So then we create that same level of desire, right? So imagine this will be the easier way to think about it. As a team leader, all of us, right? We would want to go to the director luncheon, right? We'd all want to go there, right? That's for sure. Everybody wants to go to the director luncheon. So let's say you have a desire to do that. Let's say, man, I want to go to that director luncheon at 10 out of 10, right? I want to be there so bad. You got to create that same level of desire in your team leaders to hit team leader. See what I mean? You got to create that same level of desire in them to want to be at the team leader party. Now, how do you create a team leader, right? We get some new people running for senior manager and hitting it. So how do we develop those people? The senior manager meeting, right? We got to get everybody running for the senior manager meeting. I've got to get you into that no matter what. I got to make sure no matter what, we get you to senior manager this month so you can be a part of the senior manager meeting, right? The senior manager training is going to be amazing. So we get everybody running for something this month. But what happens if nobody's running, right? You see that? They're just going out there and doing what they did yesterday. I'll just tell you a real quick story, and then I'll kind of wrap up here in a second. But think about this, okay? This was, I don't know, man. I don't know, probably like 25 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. My wife, right? It was like a holiday. I think it might have been Easter or whatever. And she was cooking ham, right? And she cut the ends off the ham. And she put it in the oven and cooked it. I'm like, okay, well, why'd you cut the ends off the ham? She goes, oh, well, that's what you do. You cut the ends off the ham. I go, I don't know about that. I go, babe, we didn't do that. She goes, no, everybody does that. So then I'm like, who told you how to do that? She goes, oh, my mom does that. So I called, my mother-in-law, and I said, why do you cut the ends off the ham? She goes, everybody cuts ends off the ham. I'm like, that's exactly what Jill said. Why are you cutting ends off the ham? She goes, well, that's what my mom did. So that's what everybody does. So I called up my wife's grandma. I said, Grandma, why do you cut the ends off the ham? She goes, what are you talking about? I go, it's Easter, we're cooking ham. Why are you cutting the ends off the ham? She goes, oh, because my oven is small. You understand what I'm saying? My oven is small, right? So sometimes we'll do what we did last. We're just doing what we did last time, right? We just keep doing what we've been doing, but we don't realize why we're doing it. We can't wake up every single month and be like, all right, we're going to have a record-setting month, but nobody's running for anything, right? Everybody has to have a clear goal of what they're doing, right? It's like, okay, if you're a senior manager, what should you be running for? Right? Team leader party, right? If you're a team leader, running for the director luncheon, right? And even if right now you're like, Tim, I've only got 100,000 or 200,000, I can't do 600,000 in 30 days, right? Okay, well then guess what? Right? You're going to be a lot closer than you would if you at least run for it, right? Not saying that you have a goal that you think you're going to accomplish it, but if you're developing team leaders and you get everybody else running on your team, it's going to push your volume up and get you that much closer. So we've got to have everybody that's a senior manager on our teams doing what? Running for that team leader dinner, right? All of our people that are not senior managers have all got to be running for our not team leader dinner, but team leader party. And then the senior managers have all got to be running for that senior manager meeting. And all of our branded people have got to be doing what? See what I mean? They've got to be running for senior manager within a 30-day time frame. What happens when everybody's running? See the difference? Now you know. So we've got to make sure everybody's got clear goals for the month, right? With convention coming up, going into, we already know what's going to happen at convention, right? We know what happened, right? We experienced March. Oh my goodness! I think we doubled the volume from February to March. It was out of this world. You know, biggest month I think we ever had was coming out of that last convention. Was like boom! Like so we did so much volume in that at the convention and the day after, right? So we know that the convention is going to drive a lot of volume, but we want to use it as a lever to create volume before. You see the difference? If we're just like, oh man, I'm just gonna try to make it through this month so I can get to convention and get fired up. No. That's not what we're doing at all. We use the convention as a driver to drive activities to be able to make our job and our goals become a lot more clear, right? A lot more easier to achieve. So if everybody in our group right now that's not a senior manager, we're saying to them, look, no matter what, I've got to make sure no matter what, we get you to senior manager this month, right? We got to have a clear plan. No matter what, we got to get after. Let's set up some pop-ups. Let's set up some, let me talk to some of your brand new people. And everybody's running for senior manager so they can be part of that senior manager, meeting, right? That senior manager, leadership training. You got everybody running for that, right? Then you got all your branded people running for senior manager. You got all your team leaders, your senior managers running for everybody. If everybody's just running, only good things are going to happen. Makes your job it makes your job, I don't want to say effortless, but it makes it a lot more easier, right? Instead of trying to herd cat, right? You know how it is. You're trying to find it, track everybody down and get them excited. You just got it. And it might just be a handful of people, right? It just might be 3 or 4 people on your team. I don't know what your team looks like. I have no idea what your organization looks like. But we want to use leverage, right? And use it as a lever to drive volume this month. Is to get everybody running for what they should be running for. And how do you do that? You just have that dialogue and conversation and inject people with confidence, right? If you inject people with confidence, because they look up to you. That's the thing I think sometimes, because we look in the mirror and we're just us, right? We're just us. But your new people look up to you a lot, right? They look up to you a lot because you did it, right? You accomplished what they want to accomplish. Some of them, they're like, I don't even know if I can ever do that, right? What you have already done, which is hit team leader, they don't even know if they could ever do that, right? So, you're larger than life, your organization, right? So you got to use the confidence they have in you to inject confidence back into them, right? I'll never forget when I first got started in this profession, the guy that was the big speaker, the number one here in the company, walked up to me and he said, kid, I like you. He goes, you're always here taking notes. Man, I like you. And he put his arm around me, right on my shoulder. I was sitting down. He said, you know what? I'm going to make sure you make it. You do not know what happened when he said that. When he told me I'm going to make sure you make it, I was like, oh my God, I just made it. I just made it. I was so inspired by those words. I was like, I can do it now. My organization just took off right after that. Did he have anything to do with it? No, but he injected the confidence in me, saying, I'm going to make sure you make it. I like you, kid. You're always showing up in the front row. And he put his arm on my shoulder and said, I'm going to make sure you make it. I was like, oh my God, I can't fail now, right? I felt like I could, and that's what we have to realize, that I talk about it all the time, is at the leadership training last time you guys heard it. You're walking across a 2x4 that's, about 2 20-story buildings, right? And there's a 2x4 across it, a little board that's 2 inches by 4 inches connecting those 2 buildings. You're not going to want to walk across it because there's a fear of death there. But that same 2x4 was on a chair 2 feet off the ground. You wouldn't have any fear about walking across that same 2x4. What's the difference between the 2x4 that's 2 feet off the ground and the one that's 20 stories off the ground? The only difference is one thing: confidence. When you inject confidence into people, you're taking that 20-story thing and you're making it 2 feet off the ground. They're like, I can't fail, right? Because my team leader is going to make sure that I make it. They're going to make sure that I hit these ranks. You see, and then you start injecting confidence into them, and not all the time, right? It happens. Right? Sometimes, and then I just take ownership. I should have done a better job, right? I mean, I could have done it. And then they're like, oh, it's not my fault. I should have done. But it's like the key is we've got to have everybody running. Just trust me when I tell you that your job becomes so much easier when everybody's running, right? So how do we get everybody running? We just got to know what it is to run for, right? We just got to know, making sure, like, think about this. Let's say that at the end of the month, let's say you sign up 5 people or 10 people, right? At the end of the month, that's how many new planners are on your team, right? Whatever that number is, could be 100. I don't know. But what I'm saying is if we called all those people, we said, what's your number one goal? How many of them would say, make sure no matter what that I hit senior manager within 30 days? Make sure I hit senior manager within 30 days, no matter what. You see that? Like we have to make sure that the new people that are getting started have a clear goal, right? And then we have a clear plan. Because if my goal is to become a senior manager in 30 days, how hard is it going to get me to be able to do those pop-ups, right? How hard is it to be able to get you on the phone with a couple prospects, right? So we just got to get everybody running, right? And it starts with us. It starts with us having a clear vision and a clear picture of what we want to have happen. And we're going to run into the conference with so much excitement, right? We're going to come into the conference with so much forward-leaning emotion and momentum. Okay, and we have so much momentum going into the conference, right? We have so much going into the event. You're going to come out with tenfold that, right? You're going to have 10. It's going to come out 10x it. But if you go into conference and your organization is just kind of putting along, guess what? You're still going to come out of it with momentum, but not as much. How do we get everybody running? Number one, we're all running. Number two is we have everybody have a clear goal of what they want to accomplish this month. We've got to make sure that everybody's running for something. Not like, I don't know, I'm just going to go out there and share the products. Oh, you're just going to cut the ends off the ham because you did it yesterday? No, we've got to have a reason on why we're doing it, right? We have to have a clear vision. And the clearer the vision that we can make for our people, I promise you, it's going to be a lot easier to be able to create momentum, to be able to create excitement and passion, because goals are what drive, right? Without a goal, my mentor told me, he said, you're either a wandering generality or a meaningful specific. A meaningful specific is someone that has clear goal. A wandering generality is somebody that's just basically cutting the ends off the ham because they did it last year. You see, what I'm saying is we've got to have goal. We've got to have direction, and we got to have confidence that we can help people reach that. You all created a senior manager. You all did it, or you wouldn't be on this call. So if you created one, can you create another one? The answer's obvious, yeah. Can you create another one? Yeah, we can do it. So what's the difference between a national director like Karen King and us? She just got more what? Senior managers than we do. That's it. What's the difference between a top producer and you? It's more senior managers, right? So we've got to develop more senior managers, creating and developing and giving birth to new leaders. And then we get them to the conference. They see the big picture. They come out of there on fire. And we make sure that all the brand new people that are getting started this month are booked for convention. Sometimes it's that one person that might have given you a little bit of resistance, right? They gave you a little bit of resistance about conference. Oh, it's too far. It's the summertime. It's August. Not good. You know what I mean? They come up with these excuses, but we stay in there a little bit longer. We stay in there a little bit longer with them because we care. And we overcome those objections, and we inject them with confidence. And we don't just go, okay, well, maybe next one, right? No, it's like, look, I got to make sure no matter what you make it, man. When you got started, you said that you wanted to be able to retire your husband, or you got started and you said that you wanted to be able to work less hours so you could spend more time with your kids. That's what you said that you wanted, right? That's what you said that you wanted out of this business. You got to get you to conference so you can learn the information and be around the people, right? That's going to help you get there. I can't let you miss this, right? And you just talk with passion and heart. Have a little bit of a backbone instead of a wishbone. And guess what? People are going to be like, all right, let's go. Right? I'm going to conference. You know what? I'm doing it. There's so many people that are going to come out of conference that are those last minute people that are going to get the most out of it because they just got started. So it's about getting our new people there. We're going to come out. We're going to have so much momentum this month because of the decisions that we're all making right now. Start creating more senior managers than ever before. And I promise you, man, this is going to be the best event we've ever had. We're going to come out of this thing with so much fire, so much excitement, so much passion. But we just got to decide right now that this is my time, right? This is my time to make it happen. We got to decide, hey, this is my chance, right? I'm going to step up, man. I'm going to get the job done. Over, under, through. I'm going to make it happen. So let's go all out, massive action. I appreciate your time. I'm over here being the substitute teacher, okay? So don't get too mad at me, all right? Well, that's me, okay? But I'm just here just sharing a few ideas and concepts of information that was shared with me Let's go all out massive action and make it happen. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you, and I can't wait to see all of you at convention. Let's make it happen, everybody. Let's have a great week, great month, a great year, a great life. Let's do it all together. We'll see you guys at the top. Let's make it happen.